Oh, that was such a long, hard climb up such a steep hill on a hot day. May I introduce myself? I am Dorothy Wordsworth. I'm sure you know much more about my brother William, the talented poet. You may have read lyrical ballads and the prelude. We discuss his poems sometimes, and I take them down as he dictates them. I've even been known to suggest an idea. Hosts of Golden Daffodils comes to mind. You may wonder what we are doing sitting up here on the edge of the Hambleton Hills. Well, we left Grasmere nearly a week ago to go to Gallow Hill near Scarborough to meet William's fiancée, Mary Hutchinson, a long-time childhood friend. We spent last night in an inn on Leeming Lane, and this morning early we took a chaise to Thirsk to have our breakfast at the 3 Tons. If you are local, you may know of it, there in the marketplace in the centre of town. The marketplace was very busy. There were horses and carriages coming and going from York and London. Then the farmers arrived with their cattle for market. There was a bull tethered by his halter to a ring in the cobbles, with the dog baiting him, which I thought was very cruel. They say it makes the meat more tender. William thought it might be more to do with gambling. And then the butchers arrived to set up their stalls in the shambles, the building immediately opposite the 3 Tons. There was much noise and bustle as they chatted to each other. They brought in their meat from the carts to load it into the stalls ready for the marketplace. We had a very good breakfast in the 3 Tons. We were treated most civilly until we came to leave, and we said that we were walking off and leaving our luggage to be collected. Well, the landlady was very saucy, in our hearing, words that I would not dream of repeating to you in such polite company. We left, we walked out of Thirsk, across the small river and out into the countryside. The fields, the verges, the footpaths, all green with flowers of meadowsweet and oxeye daisies, ladies' bedstraw, and across we walked, seeing the hills in the distance that we had to reach. I took a rest every now and again, because it was a hot day. William would walk on ahead, but wait for me, and I would catch up, and on we walked, through the beautiful fields, across these small footpaths, until we reached the bottom of the cliffs. We could see the white cliffs rising up in front of us. And William told me how John Wesley had visited here in 1755 and had recorded events that had happened earlier that year. How in March the 25th, there was a great noise up on the top of the cliffs near the racecourse. And then on the Thursday, as Edward Abbott, a weaver, and Adam Bossamworth, a bleacher, both from Sutton, were riding along the bottom of the cliff, there was a noise like many cannons going off, or loud thunder. And as they looked up, they saw rocks falling, about 5 yards wide, crashing from the top down into the valley. And later that morning, there was an even bigger noise, as a chunk of rock, vast area of rock, 30 yards high, 50 yards wide, split away and crashed, falling into the bottom of the valley with such a noise. And that Thursday the ground moved and shook continuously, rolling over stones, turning them upside down, even big rocks it moved. And it continued shaking on the Friday and the Saturday, turning over rocks and cracking the earth until gradually it subsided. So John Wesley had visited in June and had gone out with Edward Abbott to see where this had happened, and had stood there and thought about the cause, which he believed that it was God shaking the earth in this place where so many of the great nobility and gentry gathered once a year, shaking the earth to leave a visible monument of his power. So we looked at the white cliffs as we reached the bottom of them, and we ate our sandwiches which we'd had in our pockets. I was overcome by thirst, and I heard a stream tinkling nearby, and I cupped my hands and I drank from the cool water until I felt refreshed. And we rested a while before starting up the path called the Steppings. There were other people going up the Steppings, because they were expected to dismount from their carriages and walk up the hill to spare their horses. Onwards we walked up the steep hill, very hard in long skirts because they twist themselves around your legs. But I climbed, and eventually we made it. Here we are at the summit, which I believe is called Sutton Bank. And we gaze out over the view of Yorkshire, getting a bit hazy now with the heat. But there is the dark and strange Lake Gormire and Hood Hill, and behind us there were Scotch cattle, panting and tossing fretfully. And William tells me that this is a drover's road coming all the way from Scotland. So we rest a while, because next we must walk to Helmsley, where we will stay for the night.